Welcome back to the Who Am I podcast. I am Dom, and Brady is rounding the corner, coming back. There is Brady. We were just jamming out a little bit. He was moving Rocky, his dog, his dog's bowl out of his crate, so he doesn't make a lot of noise. Ooh.
All right,
Here we are. Already introduced us.
Thank you.
Yeah. You want to pray? You want me to pray?
Should we Rochambeau it?
Sure.
Okay.
Winner praise, loser praise. Winner praise.
Winner praise. Okay.
1 out of 1.
Okay.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Wait, no. Let's do one.
You just won.
No, I know, but I think I don't know if I did that right.
You did.
Let's do one more.
You just won. You
Okay.
just won.
All right.
You just
I'll
won.
pray first. God, I know me and Dom get very excited for this. We enjoy doing this. It doesn't feel like work. I pray in that excitement we can really focus tonight. Really ask deep, inquisitive questions that maybe the listeners are also thinking. We don't know it all, and we want everyone listening to remember that we are just like you. We are walking through this journey of life, and we stumble and we fall and we make mistakes. And God, I just pray that in this episode tonight that we can be humble and we can remember what you say about us, and we can speak words of life over listeners, over ourselves, and help people come closer to you, God. It's a journey, and we're all on that journey together. And it's a blessing that me and Dom get to do this, God. So thank you for giving us this opportunity. And just pray that we soak up every second of this podcast today. And we invite you into this space. We love you. In your name, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Couple of things. This is a good prayer. Thank you. Couple of things off that prayer. First thing, in terms of us not being perfect, and I've wanted to say this for a while. Some of the viewers, if they're watching on video, might have seen me put some of these nicotine pouches in my mouth. And I don't want to act like I'm hiding it or ashamed. It's something that I'm working on. I was a college baseball player. I chewed tobacco for 13 years probably. And so these nicotine pouches are a step in the right direction. I'm not there yet. It's something that I'm working on, and just don't want to act like I'm hiding it. Not perfect. And then another thing that you said was excitement. I like that word. And that was something I sat with a little bit this week. I woke up one day this week and I was journaling, I was talking to God, and I felt a lot of excitement. I felt excitement to play my new guitar, which we can talk about. I felt excitement to go for a run that day. I felt excitement to even go to work that day. And man, I was thinking about the excitement, and really what it's rooted in is gratitude. Like I was excited for all of these beautiful blessings in my life. And so I want my excitement to be displayed as gratitude. And like, I'm thankful. I'm so incredibly thankful for this guitar, for friends that can all chip in and give me a guitar, for Brady who has this wonderful idea. Long story, we'll get there. But like, for a healthy body that can go for a run, even when it's a little chilly outside, for the opportunity to go to work and to interact with other humans. And I just, I want to feel more of that excitement. I want it to get displayed more as gratitude, just because I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed. It's easy to harp on the negatives and to focus on hard things, but man, there's so much beauty.
Yeah.
Like sitting here talking to you, bro. Like, yeah, excitement's a good word. And I'm so incredibly grateful to be here talking with you about the God who's given us everything.
We talked about this, this was probably a few days ago. Yeah. How, when you truly experience the fruit of God, the love, the peace, the joy, at least for me, it's felt like this is too good to be true. And just sitting here next to you thinking like, we have a podcast together, like we get to do this. It's fun. Like I wanted to do this yesterday with you, and I like texted you and you're like, well, I'm a little busy today, but like, how about tomorrow? And I've like just been excited for this. And so many other times in my life, like I would dread what I was doing. I would, count, even we talked about this recently, but like even being in church, I would be so excited. Like, please, can this service be done? And I just get home and get to watch the Chargers play football on Sunday. Like, there's so many things in life that we're just trying to skip past and like just get to that next thing. And when we do this, it's such a blessing. And I feel like I don't know if I'm more present or I'm just more conscious that I'm present, but I'm not thinking ahead. I'm like in this moment right here, and it's beautiful to do that with you. And I feel like we have a lot to share. We haven't done one of these in a little while, and what's on your heart and mind?
Well, there's a lot. There's a lot. I'll try and give a quick synopsis. Me, Brady, and a couple of our other friends made a trip back to my farm up in Asheville last week. Spent 5 days up there. It was incredible. It was beautiful. It had its challenges as well, but there was so much growth. Every time I go up there with my friends, I just feel so much growth. And it doesn't mean that everything's easy. It doesn't mean that all of the growth happens, and I'm completely aware of it at the moment. A lot of it happens in even the reflection afterwards, but there was just so much growth in our time there. Another thing that I feel like I want to just address. Last time we talked, I was a little hurt, and I think it could have even came across as maybe bitterness. And I want to say I had a conversation with that person. I don't want to be a passive man, and I want to talk about hard things, challenging things. And I had a conversation with that person and just made them aware of, what my heart has been feeling and what I think it's been feeling. And I mentioned that this person was one of the closest people to me. And even that was a beautiful growth moment, I think, for both of us. And when we were coming back from Asheville, we stopped by a music store in Columbia. Shout out Sims Music in Columbia, South Carolina. But we stopped by there, and I've had my eyes on this beautiful guitar for a few months now, and I saw that they had one hanging on the wall, and it was the first time I ever put my hands on it, and it sounded so amazing and beautiful, and it was even more beautiful in person than it was when I saw pictures of it. And so I played a little bit in the store, and we were about to leave, and I just showed Brady this guitar on the wall, and I was like, "It's the one that I wanted." And I saw him just sit there and look at it for a second, and I was like, "Whatever is going through your mind right now, no." I mentioned a little earlier before we started recording, but Brady has one of the most generous hearts that I have ever met, and he pushes me to grow in that every day. And so I knew that, and I knew looking at this guitar, which is not cheap, was not cheap by any means. I knew I could see the wheels start turning in his head, and I said, "Brady, let's leave. Let's leave. Whatever you're thinking, no." And so we get in the car. One of our good friends, Josh, actually ended up buying an electric guitar while we were there. And so I was super stoked for him and excited for him, and come back to Charleston, and we got back Monday. We got back on a Monday. And Brady, without me knowing, reached out to a lot of our friends in our Wednesday Bible study, and they all pitched in and surprised me at that Bible study on Wednesday with this guitar. Brady drove all the way back up to that music store in Columbia, picked up this guitar, and I have not put it down since then. My friends are incredible. My friends are amazing. Brady's amazing. And yeah, so there's been a lot that's happened since we've sat down here. That's a very quick synopsis, but major points.
And I already said this to you, but you are so deserving of that gift. It was more than just, this is something Dom wants. It was an opportunity for our Bible study to just show you a little bit of how much we appreciate you, and genuinely, you don't miss one Bible study. You prepare the night before what we're going to read, what we're going to talk about. That Bible study, I don't even consider not showing up, because that Bible study in the group and the way you facilitate the conversation, it does something to me, and it does something to our group in such a beautiful way, and brings us closer to God. It enhances our faith. And yeah, from my perspective, it was so cool, because I was like, let's do this. Come on, guys. And I started just calling and texting people and getting the group in a group chat. And I was blown away by how quick people were sending me Venmo payments to help you get the guitar. And I think we had, by the time I went to sleep on Tuesday night, I think we had already, I think it was already like 20 people that had contributed towards it. And I mean, even the Asheville trip, man, like, you drove us all the way out there, all the way back. And like, you didn't even ask us for gas money. Like, that, I think, is such a little detail, but it shows just who you are and how you serve. And you're never asking for anything in return. And I think, could be wrong, but I think that is the best form of love. When you just love on people, you serve them, and you don't want anything in return, and you do that so well. So, we'll have to maybe next episode or something have you play a couple strums for the listeners here.
Yeah, I'm working on a stage fright aspect. Which is another step in my my process. Fear of man has been a huge, it's had a huge hold on me for a lot of my life through baseball and through women and caring what other people think about me so much. And it's not so much playing the guitar, it's more so singing. When I start singing, I'm getting better, taking strides towards it. But I even had a conversation with God about that this week. I just need to rip the Band-Aid off, so maybe the podcast would be a good place to do that.
There we go. We still need an intro jingle, so you know.
But one thing, what you're saying is I don't ask for anything in return, and thank you for saying all those things. But I feel like you guys give me more than I deserve without finances, without food, without tangible physical things. Like you, everyone in that Bible study, all my friends close to me, like the character growth, like the soul growth, the peace, the love that I have felt from all of you is worth more than anything this world can offer me. And so like, yeah, I felt like even sitting in a car with you guys for 4.5 hours is more than enough payment. Like I'm so grateful for the conversations that happened, for the parts of everyone's heart that like I got to see. Yeah. And so that guitar is just like, holy cow. That is like, who am I? Who am I? Who am I to like deserve even like whatever? But I'm incredibly grateful. Incredibly, incredibly grateful. Thank you. One thing I was thinking while we were talking earlier, I mentioned excitement. And I said, I want to show more gratitude. I want my excitement to be expressed as gratitude more. And then I started to think about that. But then what do you do when you're not excited?
Which you could argue that could be more of someone's default is like, you know, I'm not always excited.
And so, because I said the comment, like, I want my excitement to be expressed as gratitude, but I want to be grateful even when I'm not excited, you know? And I think, I don't know, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's easy to give praise. It's easy to show up. It's easy to love others when you feel great, when you feel excited. I think what really sets you apart in life is being able to do all those things when you don't feel good, when you are not excited, when you're depressed, when you're anxious, all those things. And for me, I think when I am not feeling excited and I wake up and I'm groggy, I'm tired and I'm not feeling grateful, I can feel more tempted in a moment like that to let me just, I don't know, go on social media and scroll for a while, or I don't know, maybe watch a movie and just kind of zone out. There's many little different things that I could do. And something that I've really been trying to work on is taking that immediately to God in prayer. So let me just try to, I haven't really thought this through, but you know, let's say I'm anxious and it's like maybe in the past I don't even take that to God, and instead of maybe journaling or thinking like, why am I anxious, I immediately I don't know, I think social media is a great one because it's so so common. Everyone's on their phone all the time. It's just like, oh, let me subconsciously, I'm not even thinking about this. Let me go on this Instagram and just watch videos. So I do that compared to maybe now taking that to God and saying like, okay, God, I woke up feeling very tired. I'm anxious. I don't know why. And it's a conversation. It could be even like, well, I didn't drink a lot of water last night. Maybe I'm anxious because of that. I'm dehydrated. God, I just want to like give this to you right now. Sometimes I'll literally like, this is kind of intimate, but like I'll just like do a movement with my hands. Like I'm giving this to you, God. I'm giving this to you. I do think I'd be curious to hear what you think about this, like movement. I think as well, just getting moving. You know, I remember when I was really depressed, I would wake up in bed some days and I just like stay there and like not move a lot and just like, you know, the wheels would start turning in my head and I'd start thinking and thinking and thinking. And like sometimes it's like, just get out of bed, start praying, maybe get on my knees, start praying, like start moving, start doing things. That's definitely helped me in my running career as well. When I didn't want to run, just let's get out of bed, let's put on the shoes, let's start stretching. What is one way when you're not feeling excited that you can channel that energy into something positive?
That's a great question. First thing, you said you do this movement with your hands.
Just like, go.
Yeah. Show the camera your fingernails. Brady's got some color on his fingernails. He lost a game.
Yeah.
But back to your question. I love what you said about like laying in bed and scrolling through social media, and that is definitely something that I have done in the past. And even I don't have social media now, but let's say even just like watching a YouTube fishing video, you know, like I don't want to sit there and just watch those all day. I know that if I just lay here and I just watch these videos all day, it's going to add to the feeling that like I don't really want to be feeling. It's going to add to that. And that's part of the reason why I did get rid of social media was I'm kind of like a all or nothing kind of guy. And if that temptation is not there for me, then like I don't have to worry about it. I don't have a TV in my apartment. I don't have social media because I don't want to allow something to have control over me in that sense. And not that I've really struggled with TV time, but I know social media and the temptations that it would bring into my life weren't good for me. And so it's been, I don't know, maybe 3 years since I had social media, and I don't think I'll go back. At least in the way that I used to have it. Same thing, alcohol. I didn't have a healthy relationship with alcohol. It was all or nothing. I couldn't just have a casual drink with dinner. If I had 2, I was going to have 12. And so I just cut it out of my life. But I do love what you're saying about movement. And that is one thing that I have felt. I have days that I call do nothing days. And I hope that doesn't come across as like a negative connotation, like do nothing. That's just what I call them. But it's things that fill my soul. And I'm around people with both of my jobs, with my extracurricular activities. I'm around people all the time. And so a lot of times my do nothing days more so are just kind of focused on me and how do I grow my own heart closer to God. And so in a sense, it's like a Sabbath.
That's literally what I was thinking.
Yeah. In a sense, it's like a Sabbath. But on those days, sometimes like I wake up and I know that I have no plans, and it's very easy to just lay in bed. It's easy to not even move. It's easy to just go from the bed to the couch. And I have learned that movement really helps. If I even just go out for a walk, but I like to work out, go for a run, go to the gym, not the one that I work at, go to a different gym, so I can put my headphones in and move my body. And one thing that I was thinking while you were talking was just things that allow me to focus on what I am grateful for. And I think moving my body allows me to, if nothing else, which there are always plenty of other things, I am grateful for this body that I have. I'm grateful for this heart that is beating. And when I move my body faster, it beats faster.
Yeah.
And like the air that's going into my lungs, like I am grateful for that. And so while you were talking, I wrote down this question. Do you think that actions of gratitude, when you are not excited, can shift your heart? And so for me, I think that would be the answer, is like taking actions that allow my heart to be grateful. So it's moving my body. And so then I realize like I am thankful for the strength in my muscles to lift these weights, for, no pain when I do it. And like giving things to people in need. Like I'm grateful for the things that I have, and they're not just for me, like they're for you too. And just things that remind my heart that there is so much to be grateful for. And a lot of times it needs to start with me sitting down with God. And that's why I love to start all my days with my quiet time, just because then I can be like, what am I feeling? And like, what is causing me to not be excited for today? And once I get to that, then it's like, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do just that. If it's like, I am worried about my finances. All right, I'm going to go give some away. Like I'm going to go find someone to give them away to, so that has no hold on me, because I have everything that I need plus more. And so who am I to be worried and anxious about this? Like there's someone out there who needs it more than I do. So like, I want to be grateful for this, and I want to help that person, and it just kind of helps me shift my heart to being grateful for what I have. And I think in that gratitude, like my heart can start to shift towards excitement.
Yeah, even just breaking down gratitude, you're grateful for what you do have. And I think some mornings when you're waking up and feeling tired and feeling anxious, whatever it might be, you're thinking of what you don't have. God, I don't have energy right now. God, I don't have peace right now. And I love that. Just like, God, thank you for letting me have a mind right now, being able to think. Yeah. Thank you for letting me breathe. Like if I'm feeling tired or feeling anxious, that means I have breath in my lungs and I can think about that, Yeah. So that's fascinating. I think it's, I said to a friend today, I've probably said this to you before too, but I think, you've said it as our words can either speak life or speak death. And in a sense, we can choose our chaos. We can choose our heaven, choose our hell, choose our heaven throughout things we focus on or give ourself to throughout a day. What do you think about that?
I absolutely love what you're saying. I think it was about 2 weeks ago. I was journaling, and as a man, I don't know how this will come across, but I was journaling, and one thing that I felt that morning was like, I feel tender, not weak, not incapable, but I just feel tender. And it took me a while to like get to that word. I remember I was like, I have these hammocks at my apartment. I was like swinging in this hammock, like thinking about like what I'm feeling. I don't even know what this is. And like I wrote that down, and like in my tenderness, I was like, I really want people to be kind to me today. I really want people to love me today, to bring peace to me, to forgive me if I do something wrong or that maybe hurts somebody. Like I feel tender. Like, I don't know. It's a hard feeling to explain, but I was sitting with God, and like one thing that I felt was like, if I feel tender, then I want people to treat me tenderly. And how does that happen? And that happens by me being tender with other people. Like,
ooh, that's interesting.
Like
okay.
if I have chaos and I want peace, me bringing chaos, speaking chaos, is only going to bring me more chaos.
Whoa. Okay. I like that.
But if I go and I interact with people, if I interact even without people, like if I interact with this world in a peaceful way, and I do things, if I go for a walk on the beach, if I listen to peaceful music, if I read, if I journal, if I create something like peaceful things, like I will have more peace. But if I do chaotic things, if I speak chaotically, like I will have more chaos. And it's almost like if I wasn't Christian, it would be, you know, like the energy you put out into the world is energy you get back. But I know that like that's how God designed it. Was like we are bearers of that peace. Like he has given us that peace. And like I want to give that to you. And you're not going to give it back to me if I'm only bringing you chaos. You're not going to give me peace. You know, like it's an unfair expectation. And so like I almost want to be overly focused, like hyper aware of, I want to speak peace today. Like I'm feeling chaotic. I'm feeling anxious, stressed, worried, whatever it is. I want to be overly peaceful. I want to be like hyper aware of the peace that I am bringing into this world, because that will make me aware of the peace that's around me, of the peace that you're speaking. I don't want to focus on the chaos. I don't want to focus on the chaos in my heart, in your heart that's going on around me. Like I want to focus on the peace, and I want to bring more of that peace into this world. And I know that I will notice it more, and I will be more aware of it.
That's good. As you were saying that, I was thinking about it's another one of the fruits, and I was thinking of the negative, I guess, version of this fruit, and then I immediately was like, no, I'm gonna focus on the positive. So, what about, this is just off the cuff, patience? What, you know, if I'm patient with someone, you know, they're gonna most likely extend patience back to me. But what if it's like patience not in a specific like with a specific person? I don't know if that makes sense. Like patience about a something you're striving for is not
Working for, hoping
it's already hoping for.
For that, at least for me, if it comes to something that I'm hoping for, like how do I be patient in that hope? it comes down to me being aware that like I have everything that I need. And although like I don't want to settle here, and that's one thing that I felt God say to me a few months ago is I never want to settle, but I want to be grateful. And so like I have hopes. I have hopes, and like I do want those hopes to become a reality. But I don't want to forget that I am exactly where I was praying to be. And even if I'm not, like I still have so much to be grateful for. And if I'm living in that hope of the next thing, then I'm never like present in the moment, like in the blessings that are around me. And so although I do hope for things, and I work for things even, it's not the achievement of that thing that will bring, like I won't get there and then be grateful. I want to be grateful here. I don't want to settle here. I don't want to stay here forever. I want my heart to continue to grow, to be more like God's. I want my character to develop. I want the fruits of the Spirit to be more evident in my life. I don't want to settle here where I'm at. I want to be grateful for what he brought me from. Like the fruits that were lacking before, like they have developed a lot. And although I hope for more, I want to be grateful for like where he brought me from, you know, like it's easy to be like, oh, I want that. I want that. I want that. I want that. And there's nothing wrong with wanting and hoping, but like, I want to be grateful for what I do have. And so that, for me, that's how I'm patient, is by like.
You just made me think of something interesting, because what I was kind of getting from that is a sense of reflection that you take, and then that makes you feel grateful because you remember where you used to be and now where God has brought you. So is that interesting that like maybe a part of gratitude is like takes us out of the present moment to feel and remember where we used to be. But when you are feeling grateful, you, I mean, at least in my life, I think Tony Robbins talks about this, but like you can't feel angry. You can't feel fear. Like you can't feel anxiety. When you're truly grateful, you feel, I think the best word would be like satisfied. You feel like I wrote this down. I have everything I need.
Yeah.
Gratitude. I have it. You know?
It's like contentment. Like, like I'm content. And although I want more, like I am content. And I think I mentioned it. But like, if I'm constantly looking ahead and looking at the future, I think for me, at least, I'm stressed, I'm worried, I'm anxious. Yes, there are certain things that I'll look ahead to in the future and be excited for. But in terms of, I want to have this job, like this is what I see myself doing, or like I have to pay this bill, or whatever it is. Like I tend to lean more towards the anxious or stressed or worried side if I'm looking ahead to the future. If I look back, I definitely am leaning towards the grateful side, because then I'm like, well, I wanted the job that I have now, and I have it. And I wanted the apartment that I have now, and I have it. And I was worried how I was going to pay that bill, and I paid it. And it's like, that was all God. That was all God. And I'm incredibly grateful. And although like I do want those things, I'm not going to worry. I'm not going to be fearful. I'm not going to be stressed about that I don't have them yet. But I want to reflect and be grateful that I am exactly where I prayed to be. What are you going to say? You're going to say something.
Well, I was thinking about just our recent trip in Asheville and how, first off, I don't know if this will resonate with you, but it just felt simple. Like every day felt very simple. Like, I mean, one of the days you and your dad just woke up early. It had snowed, I think the first kind of snow of the season. And you guys went out and went deer hunting. And it was like simple in the respect of like, or in the aspect of like, we didn't plan things. We were very flexible and open to like see where the day would take us. And I don't know if you felt like this, but I felt very present. And yeah, it's fascinating how our life can become so structured where we almost feel like we're like on a bus, and it's like, okay, now to this stop, and then okay, I'm going to this stop now, and it's just like this constant train, and you can't just stop and be like, actually I want to go on a hike right now or go do this. And I guess I'm just like deeply thinking of like how that structure came to be. And, you know, maybe even back in like the hunting and gatherers time, like just how simple it would be of like, okay, we need to go hunt and find our dinner today. Let's go do that. And you're out there and you're hunting, and, you know, okay, we caught an animal. Everyone's going to be stoked. We're going to bring food back to the camp. Let's go. And everyone eats the meal and it's lovely. And, you know, oh, that was such a full day. And then, okay, tomorrow or the next day, we got to go do that again. But I don't know. I think what we enjoy and what God has really shown us this year is how great the simple things are, how great the community getting together and doing a Bible study is, how great it is to have a Friendsgiving or a dinner with all your friends and to pray in a big group. Just like, yeah, like we talked about this once, but like why certain things feel so good and whole and holy and wholesome. And I do think like there is a big part of presence that has to do with it.
That was beautiful. It really was. And yeah, you saying that, I was just like thinking back over the past year, really. And like, it's not the things that matter, you know? And I was thinking like the difference between hunter-gatherers and like us. And I was like, oh, it's easy to blame the government, and it's easy to blame taxes, and it's easy to blame insurance and credit card bills, and like it's easy to put that blame elsewhere, but like really it's up to us. Like if I'm so focused on like taxes that I want to hoard so much money that I never have to worry about, I'm like, I'm going to live a pretty stressed life. But if I'm not living, like I trust that God will pay my taxes. And what I want to experience most in life, like you can't buy it. You can't buy it. Like the peace and the love, the forgiveness and the joy, all the fruits of the Spirit. Like that's what I want to experience in life. And like those are the things, to me at least, that feel whole and that like allow me to be content and allow me to just be grateful and excited. Like the things that money cannot buy. And they're simple.
This just like came to my mind as you're sharing this. I just want to quickly share a few stories from the trip. And I think it paints a picture of like the childlike joy we were experiencing out there. And like we can experience right now and any day and every day. Like I had one morning, your sister and Julia, I think it was your sister and Julia. They came into my room. I was literally just waking up out of bed.
My sister's 8, by the way.
Yeah. And they had those like the pool sticks, like
Noodles.
yeah, the noodles. And they were doing like almost like a fencing game. And I woke up to that one morning. Another morning I woke up and Julia, Devin, and your sister, this was the morning of the first snow, and they were oh my gosh, now I'm just spacing
Sledding.
They were sledding down the mountain, and I literally got to go see it from this one room's window, and I was just like, that's awesome. And then there's another day where like Josh comes into the room and he's got like a pie on his face and like cream everywhere, and it's just like, what is going on? But we had so much fun. We played card games. You lost a card game and everyone poured ice cold water on you, and it was like 30 degrees outside and you had to walk all the way to the driveway and back. Like that type of stuff, I genuinely feel if anyone listening was out there with us and experienced that, it's pure joy, and you don't need booze to experience that. You don't need drugs. You don't need social media. You don't need your phone. You don't need any of that stuff. And it's at our fingertips and we can experience it. And yeah, like, I don't know. I felt like I just had to share those stories because that gives a little glimpse of what that trip was like. And it's just being like open-minded to like, yeah, I can be a little silly. I can be a little goofy. I don't need to, be this adult and, fit into the mold of society. Like even the painting my fingernails, like, because I lost a card game, like, it was a funny thing. And like, usually, like, maybe if this was a couple years ago, I would have that night scratched it all off and whatnot. Like, I've gone to multiple events this week with this on, and, starts a conversation, and then people are like, oh, you're playing a fun card game? That sounds cool and whatnot. But yeah.
You saying that, it makes me think like I'm so grateful for all my friends, and I think Bella, my sister, 8-year-old, plays a huge role, like in just the joy that we feel. And I had another conversation this week about you were there for it. Like, what do you remember from like being a kid? And I think the more I learn about God's heart and the more he frees me from the things of this world, the more I do remember. And I think like that's how we were designed to live. And it's so beautiful to have Bella, my sister, around, like helping remind us of like what that childlike joy and energy and excitement and innocence like is, and like, I don't know if I just don't know what it would look like if you like took her out of the weekend. Like, would there still be pies in the face? Would we still go sledding? Like,
that's a very good point.
But like, I'm incredibly grateful for her and how much she's taught me, like how much she has taught me and like what it looks like to be innocent and pure and like not afraid, and like that's how we were designed to be.
Okay, let's say hypothetically Bella wasn't out there with us. Like, how do we tune into that? How do we, you know what I'm saying? Like,
well, I think like one of the beautiful things about you and all of our friends is like one word that I use to describe you is shameless. And I think with that shamelessness comes like a beautiful side of that childlike faith. And sometimes
I'm shameless.
Yeah. But so I like we would still have joy. There would still be excitement. There would still be innocence and purity, and it would still be a beautiful time. But yeah, I think having like an actual child there, it's like a reminder of like, this is what it's actually supposed to be like. Like she's not worried about taxes. She's not worried about like paying a mortgage. She's not worried about work the next day. Like she wants to go sledding and she wants to go drive around on the 4-wheeler and like, yeah, like that. And so I think it would still be an amazing trip, like if she was not there. But I think she brings a beautiful element that just makes it even better.
So what do you think for me and you, looking retrospectively, is that right? I feel like I use that right.
Looking in retrospect, yeah.
Looking in retrospect at both of our lives, do you think there was like, I guess, what's the catalyst to take us out of that childlike joy and really a presence and not a fear of taxes and all this other stuff? Like, do you think there's like maybe a certain age that happens, and then maybe a specific event or pressure from the world that comes on us? And does anything stand out to you with that?
I think short answer is yes. I don't have all of the answers. This is very, very deep. And I think for everyone, it can be a different thing, a different cause. I know for me, I got hurt. I got hurt by my family dynamic is very unique and caused a lot of hurt in my life. And other people, especially when they are parents, the people that are supposed to foster that innocence and encourage the beauty and the joy and the excitement and the playfulness, if they hurt me, that then changes the way that I view the world. That changes how my innocence gets expressed, how my joy gets expressed, how playful I am, the fears that I have, the doubts that I have. And so for me, I know that a lot of it was my family dynamic, and some of the things that happened there hurt me. And I know that changed a lot of how I viewed the world, how I viewed other people. And so ultimately, I do think it is people, it is hurt people in the world who then project that hurt, that fear, the doubt that they have onto other people. That then, because when you're a kid, like I couldn't formulate a thought like I have now to think like independently from what my dad's saying. If he tells me to do this, like I do it.
Right.
I do it. And like,
you wouldn't hit him with a why.
Exactly. And
I probably said a lot of whys.
Yeah. And so a lot of like my really past like 3 years have been like, well, that was actually wrong. Like, well,
interesting.
When I was a kid and I was innocent and I saw that thing and it formulated my view of the world, that was actually, you were wrong. Like you adult in my life, like you were wrong, and it actually hurt me, and it took away from my innocence, and it took away from my love and gratitude for the world, and added to my stress and anxiety and depression. And so that's what I mean when I've grown closer to God, I have realized how he viewed that moment that changed the way that I view the world. I see how he viewed it. And now it's like, oh, I've been like, it was 25 years of me living thinking that this is how it's just going to be. But like, God's like, no, like that was wrong. And that person who told you that thing was actually hurt themselves. And So don't let their hurt you, and now go be free. And so I think it is hurt people in the world who will hurt other people.
That's good.
Yeah. That was a really good question. And that's a very even brief answer, even though it was very long-winded. But I think so much of freedom comes from that. Like where did I get hurt? Where did my innocent, pure, childlike view of the world get changed and contorted and shifted to fit someone else's mold? I think so much of, at least for me, that's where so much of my growth has happened. Yeah, but I think for everyone it is different. Sometimes it's social pressures. Sometimes it is just a idolization of something. It could be idolizing money. It could be women. And I struggled with both of those things too. But I do think most of mine was rooted in what I saw going in my family and how that was displayed to me, communicated to me, even how I viewed it when they didn't even know I was watching. And so much of that changed my life. And so I think the more freedom that I have with God, the more I am like that 3-year-old before he ever got hurt, before he ever had anyone's fear projected on him. Yeah, that's my answer. Sorry, very long-winded.
No, I mean, I first off, thanks for sharing that. I know that, God has brought us out of all these different places, but it's still, not easy sometimes to talk about these things. And I think just in that, I'm sure there will be someone listening who has a very similar thing that has happened to them. And one thing I heard you say is that, that person was hurt, and then they kind of put that onto you. And and then you mentioned social, some people could be like social pressures. And I definitely felt a big shift when I got to middle school in, okay, you need to be popular now and you need to get along with lots of kids, and, you don't want to get bullied and all of that. And I remember my elementary school, it always felt like everyone was so inclusive. We had kids from all, very different backgrounds, very diverse. And I really don't remember us having very divisive friend groups and things like that. And then we got to middle school and it was like a convergence of all these different schools. And there was just a immediate pressure to like, which group are you going to be in? And I remember as a 7th grader, I got bullied this one day from a bigger 8th grader. And he, I'll quickly go into it. He kind of hoisted me up against a white kind of stucco wall. And I'm a pretty fair, pale person. And the wall was painted white. And, he said, "Oh, look, you're like albino, like this wall here." And I didn't even know what that word meant. And I just remember I ended up going home. I looked it up, and I legitimately, I'm not making this up, I think at that age, and even just you sharing your story, we're so impressionable, and we're taking everything in like a sponge. And the moment we feel like it is not a safe space to just be ourselves, it's like I don't know why the imagery I'm picturing like a a flower that just immediately like folds up, you know? And I remember I got like tanning lotion, and I remember the yearbook picture from that 7th grade. And anyone who went to Earl Warren Middle School, 7th grade, 2000, let's see, 11 maybe. Look at the yearbook picture. I look like a Oompa Loompa because I look so tan. I was putting on a tanning lotion every day that year just because that kid said that. And I ended up, you know, I think finding out, I don't know how I found this out, but the kid, you know, as you could imagine, was struggling at home with certain things, and totally have forgiveness for him. And it's totally that, you know, I'm sure it was his parents doing the same thing that so many children have to face. And that's just not a safe space to grow up and to I guess, feel comfortable in your childlike innocence and all that, and just have the space to grow and to be yourself and all of that. So yeah, it is fascinating to kind of like put a marker on like, when did that start? When did I start to look at myself in the mirror a little bit longer? When did I start to take a little bit longer to decide what I should wear to school, you know? I think even just saying that out loud, those are good markers, you know? Because how quickly do you just, let me just throw something on, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that yeah, I'm even like thinking about my sister. Like she wore a school uniform for like 3 days. So like she didn't care. She didn't care what she looks like.
Yeah.
And I love what you said. Like, it's almost like when is the first time that I didn't feel safe to be myself? And that's one thing that she said that stood out to me. And another thing was like, I really want to view those people as hurting themselves. I don't want to view that person as evil or just an awful person. Like, you're hurting, you know? And first off, that's how God views you. God views you as hurting. And like, I want to help foster a space for healing, not tell you that you're an awful person. And I think that is really part of what has shifted for me in the past few years is like, I am rooted in who I am. That when I was a kid, like was still being developed, like who I was. And so now I'm like rooted in my identity, and people around me are not going to cause that to shake or for me to question that. And such a huge part of that is if you say something hurtful or rude or mean, or do something hurtful or rude to mean to me, like I want to view you as hurting. I don't want to view you as an awful person. I want to view that like that is you living in a lie. That is you not being your authentic self. Not that there's anything wrong with me. I mean, there are plenty of flaws, but like if you do something that is rude and mean and hurtful intentionally, like you're hurting. And that allows me to stay rooted in who I am and to also help you. I want to help you. I want to bring peace to your life. I want to bring healing to your life. I don't want to bring more chaos and hurt. And I don't want you to believe that that's who you are, because it's not. And that's not who any of us were designed to be. It's hurtful and mean and rude. And so, yeah, like viewing that bully who shoved you up against the wall as like, he is hurting. That allows you, that frees you. There's nothing wrong with you. You were born with lighter skin than me. And like, there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And for him to say something is him hurting. But like when we're that young, I feel like we're just not as firmly rooted in our identity. And so that's like step one for me, is be firmly rooted in who I am. And then step two is to view people who have hurt me in the past or who actively hurt me that like you're hurting. You're hurting.
But you have to know who you are. That's the crux. If you don't know who you are, it's very hard, I think, to approach people with that lens of, they're just hurting. If you don't know who you are, you might be like, now you take that out on someone else,
Yeah.
Someone bullied me, I'm going to go bully this other kid over here. And like, I probably did things like that,
I know
Yeah.
that there were definitely people that I was rude to, mean to, bullied. And like, it was because I was hurting. It was because I was insecure in this thing, or I had this skewed belief of this thing. And so even today, like, I'm still not perfect. And there's still times where I can be more patient, more loving, more kind, more gentle, more tender, whatever word you want to use. And like, I want to be able to acknowledge that and be aware of like, I spoke to that person out of my own hurt. And so now I need to go to that person and I need to tell them that. I need to tell them that that was me speaking from my hurt, from my insecurity. And that has nothing to do with who you are. And so that was me living in a lie, not you. And that's who I want to be now. And I'm not perfect. And I have plenty of hurts and plenty of insecurities. And I just want to be aware of them. I want to be aware of them so I know if that's what I'm speaking from or if it is the true, authentic version of myself, because that person is not a hurtful, like harsh person. That person is kind and loving and gentle. You, my friend.
Yes.
You were super excited to share some things that you read in your Bible. You said you had some great questions, and I would love to hear some of those.
Yes. So I got the book here. I read Exodus chapter 32 today. And it was a doozy. Okay. I used to, always say so many things about the Bible and never, before I had ever even read a page. And I read this chapter today, and there's a lot. There's so much in this one chapter, and it's JUICY, juicy. So, okay, I'm gonna start off with one thing that I felt like God was telling me when I read this chapter. I'm not going to give the entire context. I
Go read it.
Yes, I encourage you to go read this as well. If you hear this story and you're like, that's kind of interesting. The short story of this is Moses is still leading the people of Israel. Moses goes up and meets with the Lord on Mount Sinai, pronounce it wrong, on Mount Sinai. And God is giving Moses the commandments. And it was funny that you mentioned the Sabbath, because that was chapter 31 talking about the Sabbath. And this is a quick tangent, but I thought that's interesting. Bath is in the word Sabbath, and I like to take baths, and I feel like they're very relaxing and peaceful and restful. So anyways, so that's where Moses is going. He's going up on this mountain. The people of Israel, while Moses is going to do this, they start complaining. they start kind of coming together against Moses. They're saying things to Aaron, who's kind of like left in charge when Moses goes to speak to God. And they end up getting all their, I think of this as materialism. They get together all their rings of gold that were in their ears. They give the gold from their hand. All of these possessions and materialistic things, they give it to Aaron. Let's see here. It says he used a graving tool, and he combines all of these gold jewels and makes a golden calf. Okay. They start worshiping this golden calf. They're dancing, they're singing, and they are now treating this golden calf as if it is another god. Moses hasn't been gone that long. And what God put on my heart when I read this is and this one, I guess, is tailored a little bit more towards maybe Christians out there, but if the church today just like dissolved or went away for a couple weeks, let's say, would people keep praying? Would people keep reading their Bible? Would people keep worshiping or trying to get together and meet? What would people do? And it just made me think of how like we love to be led 100%, and the people of Israel were Moses needed to be that leader for them, but it just made me think of how quickly they weren't able to just even like trust in Moses, trust in God, and just immediately start worshiping another God. And there's so much in this chapter, but another thing it said, I'm just gonna paraphrase this. Hold on here, I'm looking for it. Something along the lines of they didn't really like know how bad it was what they were doing. They weren't fully aware. And that made me think of how we could just be completely missing the boat with certain things we're doing when it comes to our faith and worshiping God. And we're really worshiping an idol. And I think it's so easy nowadays to do that with, oh, I love this one pastor, or I love this one musician, or idolizing your phone. The first thing you do when you wake up, you check your phone. You could even idolize your wife or husband. Like, I don't know. There's so much in this one chapter. Really encourage you to go read that if it interests you again. What I said a lot. What stood out to you about some of that stuff?
I absolutely love everything that you're saying. One thing that really stands out to me is, I don't know why this is where my brain went, but like people who don't believe in God, and like you're worshiping something else.
Ooh, that's so good. Yeah.
Like even if it's not God, there is something that is God in your life that you have put in his place. And I know for me, like there were plenty of things that I tried to put in that role, and none of them worked. And in that passage that you're talking about, like that is where my mind goes. It goes to me when I was in that place, and other people who are still currently like in that place of putting something else in the role of God. And even if you say like, I don't believe in God, okay, but you are putting something there. Like you are putting something in his place, whether it's a golden calf or money or women or drugs or alcohol or work or whatever it is. Like you are putting something in God's place. And what really the evangelist in me thinks like the Israelites at this time just needed to look back on all of the things that God had done for them. And then tell me that that golden calf can do it for you. And like put myself in that position. And it's like I was worshiping, let's say, women. Well, when did a woman like give me all of these things? When did a woman like breathe air into my lungs? For the Israelites, like manna falling from heaven, like water from the rock. Like when did that golden calf do those things for you? And why are you treating it as if it did? Because it did not. And so for me, I think of whether you believe in God or not, you are putting something in his place in your life. There is something that is most important that you are idolizing. And that thing will never provide for you in the way that God already has. Not the way that he will, because he will, but the way that he already has. And yeah, that's where my mind goes when you talk about that passage.
And you're putting such a huge expectation on these material, like whatever is replacing, if it's sports cars, whatever it is, like, okay, now your Ferrari is your God, and then it breaks down, or after a couple months, you're like, I think I want a new model or a new version. And it's like you're it can't, like you said, it can't give you what God can. One thing in that passage that I was just like, whoa, that's pretty cool. The Lord said to Moses, I have seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people. And I sat with that for a little bit, like stiff-necked people. What is that? And then I was like, oh, like stiff-necked people. It's like the puffed out chest. You got a stiff neck. You're not flexible. You're very stiff. And you think you are in charge, and you don't have to. You got this. Like, just keep worshiping this golden calf here. And oh man, I have worshiped so many golden calves in my time. And yeah, I think it's just like, wow, I wonder if there's something in my life that I am worshiping right now that is a very, very subtle golden calf.
Yeah, that is a great question. And it's something that I constantly want to check in on. It's something that every day I want to wake up and I want to say, God, what's competing for your place right now? And some days I do it better than others, but I do not want anything to take the place of God in my life. It can't. It can't, and it never can, and it will never provide in the way that he has and the way that he will. And so I constantly want to check in on, like, my flesh is going to be the one that's going to say, like, hey, this thing's going to be awesome if you do it. And God is over here like, no, it's not. And like, or even if it is, like, work is not a bad thing, but like I can't put the emphasis on it that I put on God. Like it cannot provide in the way that he can and has and will. One thing when you were talking about stiff-necked, for me, that goes to like stubborn, like very stubborn. That's what I think. And I actually thought about this, and it's a deep thought, I guess.
I don't know, Dom. We don't really do deep thoughts around here.
But is there I think stubbornness, and I think like negative connotation, but then I also think like a firm foundation, for Christ and for God and the building blocks that he has put in my life. Like I almost kind of want to be stubborn when it comes to those. And so
like almost guard it a bit.
I don't know. I don't know. And so where do you find, do you think there's a level of stubbornness that is good, at least not in the way that the Israelites had it, but do you think they could even transfer that stubbornness that they had to change from their old ways of worshiping these other gods? Do you think they could then have that firmness when it comes to the God of Israel, the God of Abraham? Do you think they could have that firmness and not wanting to sway from that God? And do you think that's beneficial?
I do think there is a correlation, and this is more of me talking about it from my personal experience, like lived out. I feel like when it comes to now people attacking my character of who I am today, the stubbornness can come in and help me. And what I mean by that is I know God's promises, and I know what God says about me and how God does love me. And so God knows my heart and I know my heart. And if I am being fully transparent with God and someone else is assuming things about me or saying things about me that really isn't what my heart is experiencing and who I am, then yeah, I think I can be stubbornly confident in the promises of God and not let those things change change my relationship with God, maybe bow down on some commitments and sacrifices that I've promised to God already. What do you think about stubbornness and that?
I'm not entirely sure, and that's why I asked the question. I do know for me and my track record, there is a lot of stubbornness, and there's a certain, I think stubbornness that comes from pride can be a very negative, detrimental thing to spiritual growth or even character growth or growth in general. But if the firmness or stubbornness is not rooted in pride, I think it can be beneficial. And almost like you said, like there are parts of God's character that I know that I will not sway from, that I will not move from. And I want to be so firmly rooted in that it doesn't move, that like it does not sway. There is no question that you can ask me. There is no thing that you can offer me that will cause me to change that.
So, okay, the other day, one of our friends, I thought this was fascinating, and I think it relates to exactly this. I, in my life at times, have had like an impulsive nature to just go do something. And it was Devin, shout out Devin. She said, Brady, I love how quick you are to be obedient to what God is putting on your heart to go do. And I've heard that same thing that I was doing as like impulsive or irrational or all these other things. So even as you're saying that, I'm thinking stubborn, and then you mentioned firm foundation. Like maybe when it is with the right heart posture, I agree, if it's unchecked, it could be prideful. Maybe it is you're rooted in God, that stubbornness. And so, yeah, I wonder if those, again, if the heart posture is in the right place. I think you need to know, first off, you could be wrong. And we talk about this all the time. Like, I could be wrong about this. Having that humility, but also being open to, if someone is also very close to God and loving God and loving others, and they can see something that I can't, I need to be open to that.
Correct. 100% correct. One thing I was thinking of while you were talking is like, maybe that is exactly why God picked the Israelites. Maybe because he knew in the centuries to come, like they would be offered all of these other gods, offered all of these other things, but with their stiff-necked characteristics, they would not waver from the God of their fathers. And maybe that's why he chose them. I don't know. That's speculation, but maybe it was a character that he saw and he knew he could use that characteristic for good in the long run. I don't know. But yeah, it's just something I've been curious about.
What do you think about wrapping this one up?
I think perfect. I think
good timing.
Yeah, I think it's perfect timing. Thank you guys for tuning in.
We made it through 7 episodes. Thank y'all. It's been cool. We just started to publish them recently. Our friend Katie is doing an incredible job.
Shout out Katie. She's incredible.
Shout out to Katie. She is helping with the editing, distribution, and she's also going to run our social media for us. So we're very blessed to have Katie helping us with all this. And yeah, it's cool to already hear some people who are listening to the episodes and providing feedback and just sharing how it's applying to their lives specifically. And, you know, yeah, this is a beautiful thing, and we're very blessed to be doing this. So thank you for listening. And like Dom said, if you're curious about any of these things, open this book, and it could surprise you, could lead to some interesting ideas. So,
Amen. Thank you guys.
Love y'all.